Hi guys, and welcome to this video. Um, I want to talk about how you can apply for a job or get into IT if you haven't got into IT and that is something you are interested in. I know there's a lot of good YouTube videos out there, so I will also point you to some good channels that are really educational that can also help you. I want to give my advice to what I think could be a good way of getting to um, a trade that you want to work with. IT is very, very big, and there's so many things you can do in IT. A lot of the things don't even have technical skill sets. It's a lot of administrative things. But if you're watching this, I guess you are interested in the more technical stuff. I will also tell you about my journey in IT. I have been working in IT for almost 7 years now, and I'm currently working with what I like to work with, and my kind of main goal to get into IT was security. I've always been very security oriented and curious and interested in the security bit of uh, computer science or IT. So enough about that. I will give my story and I will go through some bullet points that I have written up here. So my advice to how to get into IT and security, if that is what you want, or any other department for that matter. The first thing you probably have to figure out is, are you passionate about the field and are you really hungry to learn things, new things that like learn new technologies, new systems, learn about things all the time. If you like to learn a lot of stuff in general and you're very hungry to learn, that's perfect because IT is a field where learning never stops. It's not like some fields where you or careers where you learn it, you have like some certain things. There are actually few places where you learn everything and that's it. Most places do evolve over time, but not as rapid as IT is like a freight train that just it it pours in new technology, new information all the time. It's hard to keep track of everything and be on top of everything. But if you can, like the major things, most people in IT um, also start working in the field, you will become accustomed to looking up or hearing about new stuff, and you will hear from your colleagues. I mean, so and hear stuff from other people that you work with, or since you're in an environment where that is prevalent, you will automatically just get that information. Trust me. But you have to figure out, why do you want to work in IT? Do you want to work in IT because it's good paid? It pays pretty good, and security and special in security, it pays really good money. But is that your motivator for working in security or IT in general? Because the, there is a high demand of the skill set, and it's a pretty safe road forward as well. Is those the main reason you want to work in IT? I don't say that isn't sustainable, but I will say it can be very tedious to work in this type of field if that is the only motivator. IT is very much based on the hunger to learn new systems and new stuff, and the interest in technology, the hunger to want to solve problems, or learn about new systems and so on, because you will have to forcefully be learning new systems. You probably maybe have to change workspaces if you want to move up or move laterally to a different position or get more pay or whatever. And most most companies have maybe their own system. They have molded a system to their own kind of usage and so on. So being having the traits of wanting to learn and being passionate about technology and really like it, uh, that's at least having the ability to kind of cope with that. That is a big part of the industry. And um, I will say this: many people, or most people that work in IT, they use a lot of their spare time on exactly that. They don't look at work as work per se. Of course, there will be a clear line between work and hobby. What you do in your spare time with technology and testing out new stuff isn't the same as the production environment, where you maybe have to deal with tickets and stuff like that, but it still evolves around technology, right? Next thing is, do you have a foundation of computers and systems and technologies used in enterprise environments? Are you familiar with VMware ESXi? That's an enterprise system. Hyper-V is used some places. You have a lot of CM systems. If security is something you want to work in, you need to know not about like this is Kali, this is a pentesting distro, right? It's fun to play around with. It has everything. Uh, this is not what you're gonna have on your computer when you work in security or whatever. That's not how it works. Um, yeah, if you work in red teams, which is we're gonna touch on that later, but we are derailing a little bit here. Foundation of computer systems. You know your way around computers. Not That's not enough. Just knowing your way around a computer, like, I mean, if you really know your way around a computer, like, you know, you have filled with control panels, you have filled with maybe CMD, PowerShell, scripting, maybe solved some problem on your own computer with event log viewer, and try to figure out solve any problems on your computer. Maybe you've done some networking at home and so on. That's like a foundation that you need. Having a little bit of knowledge of troubleshooting commands like nslookup, ping, host, or who is, and so on. All of these tools are really nice to know, or you should at least know some of them. That's very, very crucial. So those two are kind of tied together. When you apply for a job, they will be asking you about your technical level. Do you know about DNS? Do you know about Active Directory? Do you know about DHCP? Do you know anything about backup? Do you know anything about SQL or anything like that? Do you know anything about SharePoint? Do you know, like, there's so many systems they can prod you on a lot of topics. So you don't need to know everything, and you don't need to know everything in depth, but you should know about um, some of the enterprise topologies and systems used today or currently used. Um, so that's important to get that foundation. Um, and I've also written preferably an education. I would say a 1 year education is enough. That should be enough, because once you're in IT, you have your foot inside the door and you can keep building your knowledge and experience, and that will be the main weight on worth of in your career as an IT technician. And what else in IT, right? There's so many opportunities to move laterally in a company, so that getting in a company and just start building experience, that's the main part. That's like the hard part, to get inside. That's the hardest part. So that's what you want, right? If you aren't already. An education will give you that pass, an easier pass to get in, and it will also raise your salary a little bit more, uh, so you can get a better positional salary. Um, if you want to work in government, some places governments require you to have a bachelor degree, 3 years education, but not today. Actually, not every government facilities require that, because there are so there are really a demand for good skilled IT technicians. If you have a lot of experience, you can actually skip the bachelor degree. Let's say if you have 10, 15, 20 years in IT and different systems and so on, and they require a skill set, they will actually look away or drop the 3 year bachelor degree um, as a must to get in. It happens. But that is because of the current situation, I guess. So an education is good to have anyways. Uh, the fourth thing is certifications. If you don't take education, certifications are a must. If you know people, you can get a job in IT, of course. Do you know people? If you're there are different things, like we will touch on portfolio and stuff like that. That can also get you in to a job if you can show for something. But that's the whole clue. You have to either know people or show for something. Show that you are a skilled person, that you like to work with IT, that you have done something in IT that are worth mentioning, right? So certifications are a big one. Even though if you have an education, certifications are gold. It can be a very nice way to raise your salary for one, to get you in better positions. And then we go over to portfolio building. That there are many ways to build portfolio. I see I have like uh, LinkedIn, and yes, LinkedIn have courses that you get like badges for. You have so many tries on different topics and different systems and whatnot. If you kind of read Python and you take a course in LinkedIn, you get a badge. You should make a LinkedIn profile. That's something you should have, or something in that. Like LinkedIn is what actually seems to be the best platform for IT work, in my experience. I get countless and countless of offers on LinkedIn after I started in IT, and actually have some few years and certifications on my back. Um, so project on GitHub. If you don't know what GitHub is, go on github.com and create an account, read about it. It's a version control system, but you can go to GitHub or I believe uh, I think GitLab, is it that? Either way, there are these are the main two, like enterprise um, version control system for programming and projects. So get into GitHub and start filling with Python, Bash scripting, or PowerShell, anything .NET, C plus, whatever piques your interest. Um, just try to learn at least one to two program languages. I will say PowerShell is a big yes. PowerShell is a big one in IT. You uh, you will use PowerShell a lot in IT. Um, and I will also say Bash scripting because it's so easy to automate a lot of Linux tasks if a workplace have Linux. And with that said, when it comes to foundation of computer systems, I would say learn both. Learn Linux and Windows. Don't just constrict yourself to Windows. I know a lot of people do, and they work many years in IT and so on without ever touching Linux, or they have to touch it, but they are not very good at it or know it that well. You don't need to know it that well as long as I mean, Windows is a big one, but today I think it's a must to know at least your way around a Linux box, know a few tools there, know how to operate in Linux, do some basic stuff, right? Okay, so back to the portfolio. Once you start learning some program languages, one program language or whatever, while you're learning, keep track of the tasks you do. Do some fun exercises or whatever, and also try to document everything you do. Try to document as much as you can, uh, and put it up on GitHub or GitLab. So when the day comes when you apply for a job, you can actually show for things that you have done, like documentation. Writing documentation is actually a good thing to do. It shows that you actually are able to document things, which is a big thing in IT. Document a lot of things you do. If you do something like upgrading the system, implementing some new stuff, and document that, that's a good thing to show for, right? So that's a big yes. LinkedIn, of course. Free coding courses. There's a lot of free coding courses out there. There are plenty. So there's no need to pay for any site that offers courses. Of course, if you're gonna take certifications, it helps with some paid services where they actually host labs. One of the things is if you want to take um, AWS, or uh, what is it called? Azure. If you want to take Azure, you have to have subscription, and you may have to pay for labbing. But some of the sites that offers courses also have virtual labs with free labs in the cloud, or in Azure or the AWS or whatever. So that's a perk, but other than that, there's so many good free resources online. So no need to use a lot of money. IT and pentest lab at home or online. So I listed a few pentest sites. So what I mean with labbing at home, you probably have a computer at home. You don't need to buy a server, of course. If you can buy a server or used computer with a little bit RAM, like 32 gigs of RAM or something like that, that's fine. If you can't, you probably have a computer. Preferably, maybe you can upgrade some RAM to get a little bit more RAM, because RAM is a big thing. 24 gigs, you can spin up a few VMs, right? Depending on how many and how big your lab is going to be. And there, you don't need to have any physical boxes or do anything. You can also buy cheap virtual desktops online, hosting websites like Hostinger. I would stay away from Azure and AWS for those things, to be honest, because those tend to be a little bit expensive. But there is so many others, like A2 or something, 2A, I don't remember. There's so many options there. You have Linode, those are mostly for Linux, but plenty of options to choose from. So you don't need anything at home either. And try Hackme, Hack the Box, and WolDB. WolDB are ISOs with compromisable systems that people have uploaded, or that are uploaded to the Vulnhub, and you can download and spin up in VMware on your computer and try to pen test it and test your skill sets. Try Hackme is very good for beginners. It kind of goes step by step, and it's much more easier to get into pen testing and get an understanding of the methodology. I can't speak. The methods to the steps to take to compromise systems and so on, and get familiar with different tool sets. So pentesting is a good way to get an all-round knowledge base of things. Hack the Box is a little bit more daunting. It doesn't give you as much hint or step by step. It's more like they give you the same option as Vulnhub. Yeah, I would say Vulnhub is like, you don't get any step by step there either. So Hack the Box is more like that. You get a box, and it's kind of like a hint in the description, maybe. You will just have to prod the box and see what you can get out of it, right? So I would start with Try Hack Me to get a base understanding. There are probably more HackerOne and a lot of other different sites, but these are the main ones. I would focus on. VMware Workstation you can download for free, I believe, and that's great. If you don't have any server, that's okay. VMware Workstation works fine, or Hyper-V. It's built into Microsoft. Maybe start a blog. I haven't done that, but maybe you can buy domains today are really cheap. So maybe you can buy a domain in your name or something like that, and start a blog. You don't even need to have a domain, of course, but it looks nicer when you can show that you can set up a website as well as having a blog. So you're hosting your own website with your blog. That's also great, like portfolio. So people say, okay, you actually spinned up a box in the cloud, or you have it on a server or whatever, with a blog on. That's also a good skill set. YouTube, build your portfolio on YouTube. Like, make videos of things. Maybe you don't need to do a lot of explaining or commentary or anything. You can just make videos, like screenshots of different things you want to remember. So let's say how to install DHCP on Windows Server or whatnot, how to update group policy, or making home spaces for new users, like user profiles, right? All of these things you can document by screen record it and upload it to your channel to have it for your own educational purpose if you want to revisit anything, right? Great stuff. And you can show it to have it in your LinkedIn profile or whatever. Build a network on LinkedIn. So networking is a huge one. If you can network online, and LinkedIn I found to be the best. I don't know any other platforms for work, to be honest. There probably is, but I don't know any. But build a network on LinkedIn is big one. Try to network with people in your area and companies in your area if you can. Um, that's a good way to get to know people in the field. So these are like uh, my advice for um, getting into IT. There's probably more. I will link to. I will give you some channels that are really great, um, which I have enjoyed watching. So if you do these steps or some of these steps and you achieve to land a job, you get to land a job, right? A position. It might be service desk, it might be depending on what you do, what kind of certifications you take, depends on your education. If you take what education or whatever, depends also about on your skill set and what you know, right? Maybe you want to work in programming. If it's security you want to work in, well, it can be a little bit hard to get straight into security if you haven't done a lot of like having good certifications, maybe good education that evolves around security. Um, Security can be a little bit hard and daunting to get into, um, but it all depends, of course. Some companies have. Let me talk a little bit about security. Big companies usually have a security team, so it consists of several security people that have different roles and do different things in the company, right? Auditing and following up security incidents and so on, right? Um, Smaller companies, they may not have any security departments at all, and just hire external people to do auditing and stuff like that. Um, and that brings us to blue team versus red team. If this is foreign for you, then go up and read about that too, blue teaming and red teaming. I can make a video on it if you guys want that. Let me know in the comments. But basically, blue team is the defenders when it comes to IT security, and red team are the attackers or the one trying to break in when it comes to IT security. So most companies have just blue teams or security operation teams. Um, Small companies may hire other companies that only focuses on pen testing, red teaming, and that to audit other companies and their security within their scope, right? And some smaller companies may have one security guy that kind of like handles everything when it comes to security, right? Then it's kind of hard to get into any security team unless the guy quits and you are in position to take over for that guy. So it's important to find maybe a bigger company with a bigger security team. So when you get a job in a company, you may be able to get in there easier. So after this, you get a job. Let's say you land a job at service desk. Maybe you actually land a job in security. If you do, well, then you kind of reach your goal, right? That's when you just have to keep grinding and maybe take some certifications and just enjoy the position, right? Because once you land something you really like to do, that's gold. You're gonna have a great time, and feel that you're doing something purposefully, right? So, but if you land a job, your first job, and it's service desk or another position that you may not really, it's not the goal for you, but you land a job nonetheless. Gain as much knowledge and experience as you can in that position. So let's say you have a service desk job, learn everything you can about the customer, the customers they have, the systems they have, learn about the technologies the company have, uh, start gaining knowledge, and ask people that work there. Maybe people have worked there a few years and have a lot of experience they can share with you. Ask and prod, and just carve as much knowledge to you as you can. That's important. Gain as not much knowledge and experience. So when it comes to the point where you feel like the day-to-day task is getting easy, and you know kind of what to do to solve any problem, maybe you don't know every the solution to every problem, but the majority of problems is kind of repeating in a few minuscule ways, right? So it kind of gets mundane. Maybe get tired of answering phones and stuff like that. That's when you're gonna go. Uh, Actually, before we go there, while you work at the position, maybe service desk, right? Also mingle with people in the company. Maybe go grab a coffee with something, or go over to someone by the coffee machine if people are standing there talking about something interesting. Most companies have some gatherings or like socialization things, right? Going out and eat dinner or whatever. Try to mingle and get to know other people in the company, and that way you build a network, and get to know people from other departments. The good thing is, if you get to know people in maybe the security department, if that's where you want to work, they can give you some pointers to what to do to get into the field and whatnot. So that's a great thing. And if they are hiring for new people, they already know who you are. They know what you stand for, and that you're a nice person. If that, hopefully you are. That's a big thing, that they know who you are, because if they don't know, it's kind of hard to like get in, because you have to prove your ways otherwise. Knowing that you are hungry to learn and stuff like that, and you are a nice person, you are easy to talk to or whatever, that you fit in the team, that's important. That's one of the aspects that are a little bit scary to hire new people, is you don't know if they're going to fit into the team. You have to try to sift through that under the eye interview, and prod the person to see if is this person a fit for us, right? It's a big thing. So build network while you're working at the position as well. All you do is prepping for an advancement into the next stage in your career, right? It's important. And also you build network and contacts afterwards if you leave the company. IT industry is very, I wouldn't say small, but a very like, you will run into the same people in different situations, because in IT people change workplaces very often, every 2 to 3 years maybe, or 4. Some people are in a company much longer, of course. It depends, but it's very normal to change companies often, because that's the easiest way to raise your salary and maybe get into a better position. Usually, that sadly that's how it works, right? A lot of company lose a lot of good technicians because of this, because they hire external people and they get better salaries and stuff, but they don't hire internally as much. So yeah, Sadly, that's the reality a lot of places. Move laterally in the company or apply to a new job if necessary, or take certifications and courses. That leaves us. That goes back to build your network at the workplace and try to get some information on what is required to work in that department, maybe IT security or whatever. What do you need to work there? What is the requirement? So you can try to take those certifications and do what is required to get there, right? Um, that is one way. Or if there is no way of getting in there, or if it's hard to get further into the company, the easiest way is just to apply for a new job. That's the reality. IT, it's completely normal. It's not like before in the old days where you have to be very loyal to a company. IT is very high demanding now, and if you have several or have experience from several companies, that means you have a broader skill set and you have more knowledge about different systems, and that's a good thing in IT. So loyalty, of course, if you jump from place to place every 1 year, people may actually ask questions, but every 2 to 3 years in the beginning, people do jump jobs, maybe every 4 to 5 years. It's completely normal. So that's what I would do, and I had to drink some water there. I want to tell you about my journey into IT to give you some idea of how I got into IT. So when I was finished in elementary school, I want to work. I actually wanted to work with IT. So a little bit about me personally. When I was little, I loved everything that had to do with technology, mobile phones, calculators, anything technology. I was so curious, and I picked everything apart. Not only technology. I remember my grandfather gave me a chainsaw. I also was into motors and mechanics as well. Also carpentry, of course. I built my, like many children, built their tree houses and stuff like that. Um, but yeah, I remember the first thing I did when I got the chainsaw was pick it apart. That thing never came back. So that thing stayed in parts forever because the housing of the spinner, or the thing you like wind up the chainsaw with, the spring in there, it got loose and you had to have a special tool to wind it up and stuff like that. So it was an old chainsaw. That thing never came back together again. But I love to take everything apart. That's just who I am. I also have a Casio calculator, which I also soldered myself because it stopped working and it was a wire that was loose. I also took it apart to just see how it is inside and stuff. Always been curious. Every mobile phone I got when I was younger, like Nokia 3323, I'm an old guy. I always like to go into every settings and see what everything did and just explore every aspect of the phone. Not so much today. The phones have become so advanced. I know how to work a phone. I know the most settings on a phone, but I haven't like gone into every settings on a phone. It's too tedious. I don't need it. But a lot less of that. But I'm a very curious person. I've always been that. And once I got my first computer, I remember when we got internet at home, because we only had that at school at first. I remember I was reading everything about computers, how the computers' internal components worked. I was very curious about how technology in general worked, how signals and satellite and everything how internet and everything were put together. Uh, you name it, everything with computers, I was curious about knowing. Um, so what happened? I wanted to after elementary school, I wanted to go into IT, but my parents at that time did not want me to because they said, and it's true, they said IT is a bubble. It's not a good field to work in. It's just a bust. Get a job in maybe some carpentry or whatever, like constructions. That's a safe job. So I was listening to my parents, and I actually, few of my buddies in school, none of my buddies actually wanted to go in IT or computers or whatever. Majority of them actually wanted to be carpenters. So I just followed my buddies and went to the same direction. Worked, I think, about 8 years in the industry as a carpenter. I actually own my own business in carpentry. I did some small projects here and there. Um, but the whole time when whenever I was working, doing school things, whatever I did, I always had computers as a hobby. I like to explore computers, explore security, explore different system things, read about technology. I was all about that. I was interested in carpentry. Of course, it was cool. I loved it when I worked with it, but after a while, I kind of get bored because it comes a point where carpentry becomes um, learned skill. There's always new things to learn, like here and there, but you kind of know most of the things. It's not so many. It's not as much new stuff to learn. It gets very repeating. There's always new buildings and stuff. It's never the same, but the knowledge is so compact. Once you know how to carpenter, you know how to do, know how to kind of be a bit creative and stuff like that. It's on a lower level. Computers, on the other hand, you can never, ever, ever get fully learned. You can't learn everything. That's how it is. It's endless. It's endless with information, and I love that. It's a little bit frustrating, but I love it. I have always something new that I can work on, projects I can take on, and so on. There's always new skill sets that I can acquire. I love that because I love to learn. So yeah, after working about 8 years in the field, I it actually became hard to get some jobs in the field. To be honest, I was actually out of work a few months, um, and I kind of was tired of working in that field. So what I ended up doing was kind of uh, thinking of what I wanted to do. Right, I enjoyed carpentering, but I wanted to do something else. So I was thinking, like, what am I good at? What is my passion? I never thought about it before that day, and I was thinking, like, okay, I do like computers. So why am I not working with it? Why am I not working in IT? That's when I got the idea that I wanted to work with IT, and I actually called around and applied for a few jobs. Never got anything because I had no experience, I had no portfolio, I had no certifications, nada. I did all of this, except LinkedIn, of course, but I had LinkedIn at the time though, actually, but I did coding courses, but I didn't have any on LinkedIn, of course. Um, I didn't have a blog. I didn't have GitHub. This right here. Okay, Volhub. Okay, I think that existed, but this right here did not exist in my time back when I was studying. This did not exist. Today, like the last 7, 8, maybe 9 years, it's the pentest, um, the pentest information out there, it has exploded. The opportunities people have today is amazing. I wish I had all of this back in the day when I was starting or was younger. I would have loved that. So I really envy people today that are starting in IT. Of course, they have a lot of opportunities. But so yeah, I figured out that I had to get an education done. So I applied for 1 year education, private school, and that was the education class was called Network Administrator, and we learned everything about CCNA. We were actually studying for CCNA, and we were touching Windows Server. We were touching some firewalls. We were touching Linux, backups, emergency recovery, like all the enterprise stuff. Um, so that was good. And the last few months of my year, I applied for work in different companies, and I actually got a service desk interview and got the job. So everything was new. I didn't know anything about enterprise, like how it was to work in an enterprise environment. So you have ticketing systems, you have knowledge bases, you have like phone. If you're in the service desk, you have like phone systems and all of that. So it was a lot of things to learn in a short amount of time, like remote desktop managers and stuff like that. All of this was new for me. Um, so yeah, got my first job. Worked there for about, I think, 2.5 years, maybe 2 years, almost, yeah, 2 years. The first half year, actually, I went from just service desk and getting to know stuff in the company to getting a position as a team lead. At that time, I think it was 6 months in. That was pretty good, and that allowed me to go a little bit more deeper into things. Eventually, the whole team lead thing was just thrown away because the company was under a shift and stuff like that. And yeah, I think it lasted for a year and a half or something, a year maybe, before they decided that it wasn't very productive and so on. Enough about that. But I got that experience on my CV, and that's good. But eventually, I wanted to work with something else. Network was actually initially my kind of go-to, so I worked a little bit for network externally and visited, was on site and troubleshooted networks and stuff like that. But it never got anywhere, and the company wanted me to invest more or do more or be more like involved or whatever. I was doing a lot, and I didn't feel the company appreciated neither my skill set, my background, or my worth as a technician. And to be honest, they didn't. My skill set was actually way too good for the position. It kind of sounds a little bit egotistic to say, but it was true. I was overclassified for, or over, what is it called again? Um, my education trumped the work I had to do. So it was kind of beneath, but I had to do it and grind it out. And I gave the company a chance to try me for maybe a second line job or whatever. But the thing was, um, the one the service desk leader quit, and a new leader came in, and she was very, I don't know how to say that, but I mean, um, she wasn't very willing to let people go from service desk, and I kind of understand a company when you have people that are reasonably skilled and can solve a lot of things in short time. I understand that they want the assets there and don't want them to leave, but in order to keep uh, people in the company, they have to allow people to move on, right? And that company wasn't very good at that, to let people move on internally, at least. So that gets us to the point where I applied for a new job in a new company. This this job was actually service desk as well, but it wasn't like second line. This was the work. This was the second line. This was more like a second line at the place I worked, at first line there. So they did not work with end users or endpoint clients, or they didn't deal with phones either, or they did, but they only dealt with IT administrators, because the company only hosted backend services and hosted the servers at their server farms and so on. So they had nothing to do with endpoints or clients. So there was few calls in there, and most of the work went into doing different stuff. And at the job you actually had change management, you had problem management, and you had incident management. So I worked at all of the three, and I got a lot of experience with different processes. So it was a good kind of building stone and a steep learning curve, of course. But that's how I kind of evolved from being kind of a rook in the game to get a heavier knowledge and skill set. Actually, that's when I learned PowerShell scripting properly, like creating my own modules, creating huge like batch scripts, and Python. I learned a lot of things on a short amount of time, and I actually applied for like a second line job, which is like a customer team. That's where I'm today, and I have a role in security for that customer team, and it's great because I can mold the role myself. It's a new role, and I can build experience with creating a role and and implementing security solutions and so on, and learn about security more at that role. So that is my story, how I got into IT, how I leveraged or pivoted to the place I wanted to be in IT. So I'm happy where I am now, and I would suggest anyone that are passionate or want to work in IT to try to get your foot inside the door and do your best and show that you are really interested in learning as much as possible, and try to get like to a level where you can pivot to other departments in your company, or move to a different company in order to um, raise your skill level, right? So that's my story and my advice on all of this. I highly suggest, this is a long video, I'm sorry, but I highly suggest you guys check out David Bumble. He has a lot of YouTube videos, which is really educational, really great. There is no bullshit. It's down to the point. He has like, if you're interested in cybersecurity, I think you have a few YouTube videos right now, but one of those are recently, I think, this year, which I think it's called like cybersecurity roadmap or something like that. How you can get started in cybersecurity, and that is an interview, I believe, with John Hammond, which is also a great content creator on YouTube when it comes to IT security. Uh, John, oh my god, John Hammond. Check his YouTube channel out. And I'm a really big fan of I E. Am I correct? IPSEC? I think it's IPSEC. Is it? No, my bad. It's IPSEC. That's what it is. Oh my god. I'm sorry. IPSEC. So IPSEC has a lot of videos on mostly on Hack the Box. He also has his own website, which he has like a searchable database of his YouTube videos. And I believe he maybe have some older CTFs and stuff like that, but mainly Hack the Box. So that's what I know him for. And it's great content. He goes through stages how he exploited different boxes and Hack the Box, and you can learn a lot from those videos if you're interested in pen testing. So go check those videos. You will definitely learn a lot from them. So that's all for me. If you have any questions, any suggestions for new content or video, I appreciate if you will leave a comment on that. I'm trying to find any find any inspiration to create different videos and get some ideas. There is so many good videos out there and so many good channels on IT today that it's hard to compete. But thanks anyways for watching, and I hope you enjoyed the video. Have a nice day.